office of the president from 4 years to 5 years.
Kpebu in office for 10 years would have died. Kpebu instead of 8 years, 2 more. 8 years, that's my opinion.
This obsession, don't use exception.
No, it's not an exception, so don't let me land.
This obsession.
All right, abusuya science ashia biem she say dia in some no de ko ene de bani na na ye transi edi ehun enkomo na abusuya enkomo de bebre e wo ho meslow say sa asemwe obekire wa adwene e wo ho eye better say ye be ko 5 years presidential term no e be ko 5 years and 4 years abusuya kire wa adwene e ma me because amanfo bebre e kasa e wo ho amanfo e kire mu 5 years ndi emboa 4 years no ebeboa na say ye ko 5 years na ye kunya president bia ne timu odin a Ghana enfa na ebegina e na say kunya de ne timu so emre obetumi ama Ghana akoboshe asase ne so a wati ase den ebesi Ghana ebegweden ebekoyie amanfo echemu a 4 years ne de ye maintain 4 years no Professor Jampo ono bedi nkomo Kofi Bentil obabedi nkomo sa so na lawyer Kpebu ababe kasa na abusia eye attorney general obedi nkomo yentie nkomo no emra
Of the president from 4 years to 5 years, with a term of parliament extended to correspond with this. Our thinking is practical. Under the current 4-year cycle, the early months of every administration are consumed by transition matters, and the final year is largely consumed by elections. A 5-year term provides a more realistic time frame for the formulation, implementation, and assessment of government policy.
Entabusia utie eye attorney general ne nkomo bedi ye na I think say it asumu because o hwe instem na all kana first 1 year na ye beyi president ne de to me ne on to me enye hwe obeyi ni ministers ene ne man ketinketi be hu ane say first 1 year ne de ya spend year wie na ka 2 years 3 years another 2 years na ye koto internal election e be hu 1 year on to me anye hwe abusia me de to me ne de 5 years na ebeboa na lawyers ababe kasa yentie eye Kpebu ne nkoma obabedi edi afa ensem na abusuya ekoso no lawyer Kpebu ababe kasa Kofi Bentil ono so ababe kasa abusuya before say ebe kon beso so obe subscribe edi amame na wa share videos nso edi ama afofro nso anya bi alti yentie lawyer Kpebu emra de ka ho bia nso me de beto awo so na wa hu de ekoso.
In our history, in the Constituent Assembly, okay, they voted on it, and those who wanted 5 years lost. You know, it's in the, we refer to it previously. Those who wanted 5 years lost. Fast forward, that's in adopting the 1992 Constitution. So from that one, we come to the Professor Albert Fiadjo Commission report. That one too, when he finished in his commission report, those who wanted 5 years lost. So it's surprising that this matter has made its way once again to the HPC Prempeh report, and this time the president says we want to go for 5 years. No. Now let's come to practical sides. This matter of forming government. The Supreme Court held in the J.H. Mensah versus Attorney General case that when the president comes into office and he appoints ministers, they have the right to act for a reasonable period before they are confirmed by Parliament. So the vetting can come later. That's what the Supreme Court held in J.H. Mensah versus Attorney General. I think that's the 98 decision, because I think the J.H. Mensah cases are two. So that's it. And it's not only in Ghana. You go to the UK, they do the same. You go to the US, they do the same. You can act. So you are appointed as an acting minister. Act. So maybe we can choose by convention whether we want to do six months. Some places, the US, in some instances, you can act up to 300 days, almost close to a year. So it's for us to choose. But my key point is that the Supreme Court has settled this by saying that when the president appoints ministers, they can act for a reasonable period. The lawyers, you know, some people read it and they don't see it. Please, if you want to find it, go to the last 2 lines of Justice Akwe's judgment. You find it there. Right. People have read it, and you know, sometimes, you know, we are looking for quick fixes. So you keep reading, you don't see. Just the last bit, that's where they held that a minister can act for a reasonable period before he is vetted. Please, so let's take it. Let's take it. Then number two, in terms of knowing who to appoint. Oh, but that one in opposition, that's how come we have shadow spokespersons. So there's a spokesperson on finance, etc.
So you should have formed your government before going into the election.
Exactly. Don't come and saddle us with this. Can you imagine?
But a lot goes on after you win the elections.
Well,
the lobbying and then all of that.
Yes.
You have to.
So the shadow people can start, and that's why there is opportunity for reshuffle. Let the shadow people start, and then you can reshuffle later, right? Can you imagine this 10 years? Can you imagine a Akufo-Addo in office for 10 years? Who would have died? Akufo-Addo instead of 8 years, 2 more. 8 years, that's my opinion. Can you imagine?
This obsession, don't use exception.
No, it's not an exception. So don't worry, let me land.
This obsession is.
Can you imagine when you and Akufo-Addo? You and Akufo-Addo, we separate.
Please, John Mahama as an example. Why are you using Akufo-Addo?
But we've not yet seen his 4 years. We're burning down 4 years.
It's a perfect example.
It's a wrong example.
Oh, but in 2016, we're not happy with JM and we booted him out. So this 4 years is yet to finish. So we can't, you see. So even JM himself, in 2012 to 2016, Ghanaians, you see all the things we said, we're not happy. We want a higher standard. Okay. So he himself, the record, the one he completed, was not good enough.
Right.
Then Akufo-Addo came and made it worse. So now JM, we call this one what? His legacy term. So far, by our own records, 8 plus 8 plus 4, 12 years. We're not happy with the leaders. JM is now coming to redeem himself. He has not finished the redemption. He's barely gone halfway. So in actual fact, JM should not, to be very honest with you, be the one leading these charges. I think JM was misled. He shouldn't have done this.
Misled to support
yes,
this.
Yes, he shouldn't have done that. Because his own 4 years that we kicked him out in 24, it was abysmal. It was abysmal. That's how we kicked him out. So he should not be the one leading these charges. If he had done very well in Edison. Yes,
but his cabinet. His cabinet.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, is this cabinet?
Prof, I'm going to come.
Right?
And the position
government
paper.
position.
Yes.
We're not happy.
That's government position.
We're not happy. So James should have seen that. It's not like, you see, let's get this in very clear. If we don't do this, politicians will take us for a ride. Look, listen. This thing, in 2016, we're not happy. The only reason now we went back for him is that Akufo-Addo couldn't do better. But that doesn't mean that what he did 2012 to 2016, we're happy with it. No, it's just because Akufo-Addo didn't do better. They were like, okay, Lai Momo, go for your old girlfriend, right? But it doesn't mean that we're happy. It doesn't mean so. Okay. So JM should not be the one leading this charge. I think he's been misled. This thing has been misled. Okay. When it goes to the referendum, they will lose on this point.
I see.
They will lose. It's not a good thing.
Thank you.
It's not a good thing. He's overestimated his popularity.
Prof, yes.
Well, Alfred, I completely disagree with Martin on this particular term limits proposal from the Constitutional Review Committee. I think the idea that it was introduced by those whose recommendation led to the preparation of the Constitution and that some people voted on it and lost, that's not, we don't live in the past. Okay, we are looking at the practical realities and exigencies of the time today. Now, forming a government, in my view, is not an easy task. Martin talks about the fact that you may have shadow people who may be given the chance to act before people are selected and vetted and all that. But you read Plato. Governance of a developing country is too serious a business to be left into the hands of just anybody, shadow people. You have to vet, you have to be sure that, look, we are fighting the quagmires of poverty and underdevelopment. And so you just cannot just handpick and all that. So you have to undertake some security checks, background checks, review people's CVs, curriculum vitae, and look at the experiences and be sure that they warrant or merit certain positions before they are given. And in my view, this can practically take up to about one year. Now, the second year of a new government, the second year, you are going into district level elections. And you must pay attention to that. Okay, because it also, I mean, the foundation of our governance must necessarily also rest on our local, government system. And so you must pay attention closely to what happens at the local, level. The third year, you are thinking about your own, if you are a leader or a president who may be going for a second term. The third year, you are thinking about your own flag bearership race. And I tell you, that kind of race, that internal contest sometimes is more divisive and more distracting and exacting even than the national election. And so the person focuses so much on that and governance suffers. The fourth year, you are seeking a re-election. It's an election year. And so I was not surprised that J. Kufuor, when he was exiting, made a proposal that it should be 7 years. And he said, yes, 7 years, but not starting with me. And I'm not sure that even this 5 years, President Mahama is saying that it should start with his regime and that he should be given an additional 1 year. That's not what he's saying. But in looking at the practical challenges and the practical realities, I would also go for an extension, so we get into the 5th year, so that people would have some time to prosecute their mandate and agenda. Because it takes, if you want to fix things and fix them well. Look, Martin, I don't know, I'm sure you've been rejecting the offers to help save, the country you are my friend, so I know what I'm talking about. But if you get in there and you truly want to fix things, you will see that some of the things, they take a long time. You are trying to drum home a certain message of change, and people are used to doing things in a very bad, in a very wrong way, and that is what is ingrained in your psyche. And if you are changing, the more radical you are, the more radical a response you get from them opposing you. And so you have to foster your idea of change in a certain gradualist, using a certain gradualist approach with the view to ensuring that they buy into it. And it takes time. If we want to govern and govern well, yes, we must be able to balance the two. It's not about staying too much in power, because like you said, if you get the wrong leader and then you give him a lot of time, then it means you are perpetuating, you are prolonging harm on yourself. But at the same time, if you get a good leader who needs some time to fix things, we should be able to also allow that. So in my view, choosing between J. Kufuor's proposal for 7 years and then the current proposal for 5 years, I think that 5 years would be good. It will not give leaders too much time, okay? But at the same time, it is not also too short. And I think that is what I'll go for. But to say that we should throw it away simply because others voted for it in some time past, some 30 years ago. And
Thank you.
We may not be looking at the practical realities. So
Perfect.
Speak to those who are at the moment, in charge of governing the country, and they will tell you that some of these things that you have to do, it will require time.
I'm looking at the 5 minutes. Let me go to Vizayangba and then. No. Let me come to you.
Fine, yes.
Okay, that's okay.
Thank you very much,
Mr.
Mr. Ayagba. In the first place, again, my brother Martin, when you make wild statements like President Mahama was misled, I beg, tone down. President Mahama is the most experienced politician in his generation today in this country. Bar none. The only person who fell hard and managed to get back and re-enter the presidency. He's a nice guy, he looks cool and everything, but he's clearly a very astute person. So please, don't talk about he's been misled. I think he will own his decisions, however they turn out, all right? And to that extent, therefore, there must be good reason why he's concluded the way he's concluded. My problem, and I was thinking, Professor Jampo will speak to it. Maybe
No,
we should
generally, we'll get there.
Okay, we'll get there.
We'll get
But
there.
my problem first is with the whole issue of white paper. All right? I don't think that the executive must necessarily issue a white paper on work like what Prof. Prempe has done. No,
It's a position paper. Not
I
a
know.
white.
I said I don't think
Can we
it is the
distinguish
best.
between the two? Because I was
Yeah.
also confused.
White
between-
paper, when you say commission of
you see,
inquiry
white paper,
under
we
278.
objected to it.
No, I
But this
think that's
one
what-
is
that's
No,
what
it's
Larry
white
Kpebu is
paper
explaining.
when it's under Article 278.
A commission of inquiry.
This one
But
is
this
not a
committee.
That's how can be called the position
The government
paper.
position.
Okay,
Thank you.
position paper. Sorry, I used white paper. The government didn't have any business declaring a position paper because what it does is it makes the constitutional review more or less an act of the executive. This is how we want it. This is what we want. This is what we agree with. This is what we don't agree with. And then you will run into problems because the executive should not be amending our constitution or be seen to be pushing it one way or the other. It should be a people's project. That's my point. And to the extent that it's a people's project, note, if you take this issue alone on the 5 years, it has been beaten and debated across the Fourth Republic with presidents who have been in office coming out and speaking. And Professor Pempe will tell you how the debates were like. I have been involved in so many of them, and I've come to a conclusion. But the first thing I want to say is that people shouldn't think it's just a simple, straightforward thing, and oh, people are not doing a good job because they are... No, here's the thing. If you come into this presidency not prepared, like you're saying, shadow government, whatever it is, if you come in not prepared, that's you don't have a solid cabinet ready, your agendas and everything ready, hit the ground running. Donald Trump on his first day signed a series of executive orders and changed this country. First day, right after the inauguration, he went to office and signed them. That's prepared. Before they came into office, they published their project book, Project 2025 or something like that. You knew. Okay.
That's more like a manifesto of a sort.
Of a sort, but this is agendas they were going to execute. We should get to that point. But the point I want to make is, if you come into office unprepared, 5 years will not be enough. And it is not easy to, not that it's not easy, but our leaders have refused to do that work. I remember when Mr. Safo became finance minister, during the opposition time, he wasn't the spokesperson on finance.
True.
Another person was. Okay?
Yeah.
And so everybody was expecting that person would become the finance minister, and then it slipped. And Mr. Safo was a very good finance minister, an engineer, but clear, credentials in finance. Now, President Kufuor knew what he found. He knew what he saw. And when you get into government, you see all kinds of things in different lights. So there can be a bit of issue there, but that is what they must deal with. So I am of the view that our presidents, political parties, and systems must prepare before they come into office. But the fact of the matter is they don't,
but
for good or for bad.
I think
and
you concede that the lenses or what you see appears differently when you come into power than when you're in opposition.
But I'm saying
so
they should sharpen their vision because they are the ones in that space and should watch more, check more so that what they see will be at least as close as possible.
Okay.
But the point I'm making is that we have to deal with the fact that they don't come prepared. To that extent, therefore, if you don't come prepared, 5 years is not enough. If you come prepared, 4 years will be enough. But we deal with the fact that they don't come prepared. So, after a lot of debate, I've been in a few of them, I've come to this conclusion. That one, for our own sakes as a country, it does not help for us to leave the thing as it is when the people who have been under the sea tell you that the crocodile is suffering, like President Kufuor. So adding 1 year will not change much. 2, adding 1 year will remove every excuse. Like Professor Jampo said, it is not too much, it is not too little. But this time round, it will remove every excuse from anybody who says that I didn't have enough time. Because like I said, you should come prepared. If you didn't come prepared, we're giving you an extra year. The only argument I have heard against this is, oh, what if you end up with a bad president? Don't vote for a bad president. And to that extent too, we need to figure out. Exactly. Because of that, I didn't want to go there. How will you know and all those other things? So you see, when you have a problem, you don't do the same thing and hope that it will change. In my view, pros and cons both have cases, but it is better for us, give them that 1 extra year. Remove every excuse, whether you are prepared or you are not. That is enough time for you to do what you have to do. And definitely, let me add the last point, which was a very strong point in one of the debates I was in.
You've spoken very well.
One of the strongest points that came up in one of the debates, and it was as follows. Many, in fact, all of our presidents get a second term. Even those who don't impress in their first term. And one of the excuses they give is that the time was too short. So almost all the time we give them the benefit of the doubt and give them a second term. When you put this 5 year in place, that excuse goes away. So you will get a situation where I said I was in a debate and I bought this because I think it made sense. After 5 years, if you don't impress us, You can't come back and tell us to give you a second term because that makes a decade of you that we are not impressed with. I do believe that if we implement this 5 years, we will start seeing one-term presidents. Because if you don't do the job in 4 years, you don't do it in the injury time of 5 years, it will be difficult for you to come back and say, give me another 5 years.
Professor Kwame Asante says, Alfred, please find out from Kofi Bentil if a president can be prepared to appoint over 10,000 people before coming into office. That is a tough call to make.
No. So see, the president does not have to appoint everybody. He can't. Nobody can. You appoint your core cabinet.
To start.
Yes. And what Martin said about the acting is true and it's lawful. So, in fact, every cabinet has a kitchen cabinet. All right? The point I was making, which I can't explain too much, is that if they say they see things differently when they get into office, for me, it is anomalous. You are focused on this office for 4 years trying to come in. I think it's reasonable for us to ask you to be clear-eyed. And when it comes to picking, you can't pick the 10,000 people. You can pick 20 to start with and a few others. Because once you win, the party and other people will come in. Okay? It is reasonable to require that people who end up in the presidency do not need 1 year to pick their core team and then take the rest of the time to finish what they are doing. But whichever way it is, this 5 years removes every excuse. If you fail, you can't ask us for a second term.
Well, and I'll come to you.